much for joining us today. Today I have with us Mike Valdez, our Director of Instruction. Thank you for joining us, Mike. Today I'd like to talk about and discuss overseeding of the T-tops. This is something that we've been stepping into slowly over the last 4 years. We did trials for overseeding T-tops on some small select pads throughout the golf course to see if its use and its value. And then last year we overseeded the par 3 tees, number 9's tee, and the short game tee to step in that a little bit further. And what we're doing that for is to get a better winter color and a little bit of moving the needle of a divot recovery. We currently have a warm season grass, which is Bermuda, and we put that down during the project so that we would have best divot recovery and response to play during our growing seasons. We've done a lot of other things in order to try and improve our winter conditions by putting drains in, getting people out in between storms and after storms. And here's another step into that, where we are now putting a cool season grass, bent grass, into the Bermuda grass canopy to get better winter color, because the Bermuda does not hold its color well in the winter months because it is a warm season grass, and it also doesn't recover at all because there's no growth to it at all in the winter months. So we have done this on the par 3 tees. We've seen that they respond well together. We've seen that they don't outcompete one another, that when it's the bent grass season, the bent grass does well and returns, and when it's the Bermuda grass season, the Bermuda grass does well and the bent grass fades out. And it's a one-time thing. So we only have seen in the 4 years of the existence of the first trial, no need to go back and overseed with bent grass again. This is a 2-turf approach, which also helps with being water-wise. So if we had to turn off the water to our tees, the Bermuda grass would be there, and it is a very low input water required turf for existing only in our summer months and being off color in the winter months. Having the bent grass, to incorporate the bent grass into the tees, we have to do this overseed process. And the overseed process is involving basically stunting the Bermuda. And we pick this time of year, and we've been successful in the 2 trials before this time of year, because that gives it the leg up as shorter days, stepping into cooler mornings, cooler days, cooler temperatures, and the Bermuda doesn't have as much vigor to it. We can't do this in an April, and we can't do this in a summer, June or July, because there's so much fight to the Bermuda, and it's giving us that quick recovery. So we're gonna scalp those tees down to the nubs, and it's gonna look very yellow or brown or dead, and it is not. But then we're going to be seeding the bent grass in and watering it and fertilizing it to get it to come up simultaneously with the bent or the Bermuda, because the Bermuda is going to return. And then when the two have returned, when the Bermuda goes dormant, the bent grass is there, and we are off and running, and we're set.
So with that, what is the germination time frame basically for the seed to pop once we start watering it? Just in average.
Yeah, great question. Bent grass is a very slow to germinate seed. So ryegrass is one that you could use, but it's a 3-day sort of germination, depending on time of year. But the bent grass is more like a 10 to 14 day. We just did the drop zone with bent grass seed, and because we were able to flood it, do lots of water on it to activate that seed, it came up a lot faster than the 14 days, and it was more like an 8-day to 10-day range. So it does take longer, and eventually, like as we stand here on the driving range tee, to help with divots and make sure that we don't just beat via divot the bent grass out, we would be putting seed into the bent grass, or into the divot, the driving range tee mixture. So that we're getting recovery there. And then we're also replenishing the bent grass, but never truly with the goal of never having to go back to do that again.
So once we scalp, it's going to be okay for the members to traverse the scalped area to get to the practice zone from the clubhouse, correct?
Yes, great question. So as we're talking about tees on the course, the driving range tee is to be done. The short game tee is already done. And last year is in front of the synthetic, we did in front of the synthetic. So we have turf that is prepared. It's a very small area. And we have obviously the synthetic to lean on while we do this area. And we're going to be doing up to the greens and the collars around the greens. So everywhere there's Santa Ana, the Bermuda, we are going to be overseeding or aiming for overseeding those areas.
Right, and you can kind of see this morning with the dew from the fog, you can kind of see that bent coming into those divot areas that we were talking about, being placed. You can see that grass coming back in versus the Bermuda grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see the differences of the two turfs. It can be noticed in the juvenile state while it's recovering, for sure. Yep. And you're asking some good questions that lead into managing expectations, how we're going to utilize this and how we're going to recover from this, and then hopefully put it in our rearview mirror and not have to worry about it again. Is that we're going to have to give this upper T area time, so while it's germinating and it's a seedling state, that we are limiting traffic. We're not playing off of it.
Right.
Even around this big putting green,
Around
any
the
chipping
putting
and
green.
everything like that is going to be asked that is done down in the short game area. And so that everything can come in as nice and fresh as possible, and it is set up for success. So we're looking at, my expectation is at least let's set a 10-day marker.
Yeah.
And Mondays are included in that. But we start a 10-day marker on that, and then we reevaluate, what does Mother Nature give us? Are we getting really, really cold days where both grasses aren't responding? Or are we getting super warm days and we got green grass and maybe it's a 9-day sort of thing?
Right, so going to the calendar, that process is going to be on the 6th of October and the 7th?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so working with you on the calendar, what you're going to see is you're going to see the top part of the range being used more frequently up until the 5th. And then once we do the scalping, we're going to go to the synthetic, and we're going to go synthetic grass off and on every other day, just so that we can kind of preserve some of the grass hitting. So you'll see that, and it's on the schedule. It's also in the e-blast. But this is all information just, to make sure that the members know what we're doing, and then the process. And then, like you said, controlling expectations of the turf and then the end product as well.
Yeah, and we're trying to make sure that everyone has as much turf hitting time, and although it might be unsightly or feeling like it's something that, why are we doing this, that it is for the better good for the long term, and should be like a narrow window of expectation of 10 days or 14 days. And we have provided turf days, even if it may not be 5 to 6 days a week of what we're expecting right now. At least we've found something where we can provide turf days, rather than just leaning on the synthetic the entire 14 days.
Right. And so too, using the top tier of the range so much, with the amendments that we're putting down, that's also going to be a great starting point for that seed, right, in the sand and kind of the turpentine mix that you're using. So using this top part of the range, it's beneficial for the growth of this seed to really kick off too.
Right. One Greens Committee conversation when sharing with them how this is going to be taking place is not to manage the expectation of that we're going to have fewer synthetic days in the winter months. We might find some of that, but we're at least going to be getting some recovery depending on the type of winter that we have with a bent grass, whereas almost any winter that we have, you're getting no recovery with a Bermuda.
Right.
And so this has always been the plan. Was discussed pre-project of this is what we would do, and I'm surprised it's actually taken this long to get to this point, but we are there, and I'm excited for the membership to have that. Yeah.
And as a common practice, we're still urging members to when they use the practice facilities, either whether it's the large range or the short game area hitting off of the turf down there, to take divots in lines versus patch, just because the grass grows in a lot easier from side to side versus taking out a swath of a whole area and the grass really having to work hard to come across 24 inches versus a divot which is anywhere from 3 to 4.
Or even just finding level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, for joining today and discussing and also helping give that perspective from a playability standpoint, and also how we're going to utilize the driving range tee coming out of this. And thank you very much, membership, for following along and your support and your patience.